Okay then. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Optimized Muslim YouTube channel. I did start this project and channel and website about a year ago. This is the first video featuring myself, so I'm not quite sure how it's gonna go. It does feel quite strange recording. I haven't done anything like this before, speaking into a camera. I haven't edited it before. I don't know if the sound's gonna sync up well, so it's all new, but I aim to improve as I go, and inshallah this is the first of many. Inshallah it's useful, and inshallah it's beneficial to some of you. So I've got a question for you, and the question is, what's your diet like? Is it, oh, I'm vegetarian, I'm pescatarian, vegan, I only eat organic, or follow the ketogenic diet, the paleo diet, the Atkins diet, high fat, low fat, high carbs, high protein? Are you bulking? Here's the thing, what I'm asking you about is not what you eat, but what you put into your mind. What's your mental diet like? If you think about it, even the question about what you put into your body is determined by what you put into your mind. What your thought system or what your frame of reference about food is what's going to determine what you eat and your dietary choices. Now, the purpose behind this channel is not necessarily to speak about religious rulings. So I'm not a scholar. I'm not portraying myself to be a scholar, because people love to be like, oh, what's your chain? I'm not speaking about anything to do with like authority or rulings or whatever. We all know, and the reason for that is because one of the key motivations and intentions behind this was, I think there's a massive gap between what the average Muslim knows and what the average Muslim does. There's a gap between knowledge or information and action. So this channel is trying to make the implementation of what we know easier by spreading certain ideas, thoughts, tactics, or ways of doing things or looking at things. That's the intention. Now, if I achieve that or not, I don't know, but we know the religious rulings. We know the hadith about you are on the religion of your friends, you are on the deen of your friends, so choose your friends wisely. We know the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ compared a good friend to a perfume seller and a bad friend to a blacksmith. We know that there is emphasized in our religion, and it's emphasized in kind of popular culture as well, or at least in like the self-development world. You are the average of the 5 people you associate with, that kind of thing, and it's getting more and more traction. This positive thinking, surround yourself with positivity, that kind of thing. But why I wanted to make this video, so it's not just about going over these rulings and then saying that's a good reminder folks, and then saying that's a good reminder, inshallah you benefit, I'm off. I think there's already enough of that, with respect or with humility, because who am I? What motivated me to do this video is to try and express it in a way that I haven't heard it before, but it had a big impact on me. So if it had a big impact on me, I thought if I share it, it can be of benefit to you. And that is, with everything else, with all the other pursuits in life, people seem to see the link. For example, if people want to build a physique, they can see the link between the actions necessary and building the physique and attaining the goal. So what are the actions? Going to the gym and refraining from eating certain foods, changing your diet and changing your actions, and it's seen as like a relatively long-term process, and then you get to your goal. Revising for exam, same thing. People understand you have to put in the time and effort to get to the result. As much as society kind of propels this narrative just to get quick sales of short-term gratification or short-term success, like 7-minute abs, that kind of thing, deep down we all know even in business, if you want to set up a business, people know it takes effort, it takes time. But when it comes to the Deen, when it comes to like having God consciousness, or when it comes to having high level of Iman, we treat it like it's some kind of wishy-washy esoteric endeavor that we can't explain. And what that does is it takes away agency, it takes away the sense of responsibility, that we're in the position where we are as a result of our actions, how we conduct ourselves on a day-to-day level. So how can I illustrate this in a different way? Think of it this way, right? Let's put it in terms of person alif and person ba. Now, person alif and person ba, they both conduct themselves differently, but they're both in similar situations. What do I mean by that? They both are working professionals, or they're both going to university, and they're both Muslim, and they're both in a Western country. But how they conduct themselves on a day-to-day, or their actions in a given day, vary significantly. So person A is someone who will do all the faraid, will pray the salah and everything else, but on top of that, 10 minutes Qur'an, daily adhkar, zikr. Person A, he or she has learnt all the du'as when exiting the house, when entering the house, when entering the masjid, when going into the marketplace, when being grateful, when they feel pain in the body, when they feel happy, when they feel like they've lost something. They know all these du'as, and they also go through the day when they can, they do zikr here and there, 100 times subhanallah, 100 times alhamdulillah, and they avoid backbiting, they avoid bad language. It's their policy, they don't swear, they try not to flirt with the opposite gender, they avoid having the opposite gender on their WhatsApp, for example. They limit themselves on social media, they limit how they spend their time on social media, they don't watch, or if they do, it's very limited how much they engage with the news, or how much they engage with TV series, movies. They don't listen to music. This is person A, person alif, he or she. Person ba, he or she, on the other hand, is a Muslim living in a Western country, working or going to university. Same situation, but on a day-to-day level. This is person ba. They don't pray. They don't pray. So there goes the faraid. But even they don't read the Qur'an. They don't do any of the adhkar. They don't do any of the entering the bathroom du'as, or exiting or leaving the house. Any of the daily du'as, they haven't learned them, and they don't read them. They don't really lower their gaze. They go around saying what they want without really thinking about it. They use bad language. They say what they want. They listen to music. They watch all the TV series. They watch all the latest movies, and they're in relationships. Let's not forget that one. They're in relationships, and it's just 21st century. And but they do go to Jummah. They go to Jummah and they fast in Ramadan, right? Now I've given you two different people, and you can argue that person B is like the average Muslim living in the 21st century. So my question is, if you were to look at that, and if you were to receive a breakdown of their day, like, you know, if you got a really intense diary breakdown of how they spent their average day, right? And it was like itemized, and it was like minute by minute. So you could see 7:05, person A leaves the house, recites the du'a. Person B exits the house listening to Drake, right? So you had this itemized breakdown. And then you're like an objective person looking at this situation. And then you were asked the question. They're both Muslims. They both believe that one day they're going to die, and there's an eternal afterlife. They're going to be judged on their actions, and how they conducted their life is going to determine where they end up for eternity. So who do you think out of person A and person B is going to have the higher level of Iman or the higher level of God consciousness? So what I'm trying to say is, it's not rocket science. You just do the maths. It's like anything else. What you put in is what you get out. Whereas what we've trained ourselves to think is like, oh, these days my Iman's low, kind of thing. So then, as if it's just magical and you just wait for it. When really, look at your action. Now, the other scary thing about this is compounding. Yeah? So you've got that snapshot of person Alif and person Ba's day, and you can see it does add up to a big difference. There are many differences between person Alif and person Ba as to how they go through their day. But then it's not just one day. Life's not just one day. You compound that, you add into that, you compound that day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And then again, you take person A and person B, let's say they're both 18 or let's say they're both 25. Where do you think they will be after 5 years? Where do you think their Iman or their level of practicing the Deen will be after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? How do you think that will affect how they raise their kids? How do you think that will affect everything in their life? Do you understand? And the reason is, we're underestimating how much this stuff affects your brain, right? We're underestimating how much this stuff, because the more you do it, the stronger you get, the stronger those synapses get, the stronger those neural connections get, the stronger those habits form. Again, going back to our example, you get person A and person B, and person B is a Muslim, and he might sit down one day and I'm gonna transform my life. This is it. I'm gonna transform my life. He does wudu and he starts to pray. When he's praying, he's like, oh no, I don't feel the connection. Like, this is so hard, man. Like, I'm trying so hard here. I've tried to pray and all I can think about is the latest lyrics. Again, compare their salah. Compare person A, after spending weeks, months and years like that, compare that to person B. Where do you think their salah will be? Where do you think their taqwa will be? Where do you think their khushu in their salah will be? So what I'm trying to say is, it's not as wishy-washy as you make out. It's more black and white. So now I've explained the issue, I've illustrated it by using this example. I don't know how much it makes sense, to be honest, but the point is, what you put in is what you get out. If you're filling your mind with these kind of negative influences, and your soul will tell you these influences, what's the point? What you put into your brain matters. What you let into your brain, it's not just like, oh, it doesn't matter. People think it doesn't matter. People think like it has no impact. People who are training for like a fitness competition or a boxing match or something, and you see how specific and particular they are with their diet, and then when it comes to the mental diet, what you don't understand is everything you put in is going to cause some form of reaction. It's going to come out in some way. It's going to kind of present itself into your life in some way, right? People seem to not care about that, or they don't really appreciate it. Now, if you do care about it, then you should work on fixing it. If you don't care about it and you're like, oh, this is one life, you know, it's live your life, you know, have fun, then this video is not for you. This ain't for you, mate. You know, this ain't for you. But if you actually want to change, then the traditional advice, yeah, that you always hear, or I always heard growing up, was this: change your friends, right? Change your company. But that's on the assumption that most of your kind of mental diet is coming to you from your friends or from your physical company. And it's good advice if you can do it and you don't really care, and you're like, me, I care about my mental diet more than my friends. That's fine and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that if you can do it. But what happens with most people is that's quite uncomfortable, and that's quite a drastic step, and then it can come into like your identity and the reactions and how you might start feeling lonely or whatever else. And you might be like, mate, I've known this guy, even though he's like a drug dealer that gives me nothing but grief, and all of the bad that's happened in my life has come from this guy, but he was with me when I was 4 and he stuck up for me against the school bully. There's no chance I'm gonna just desert him. If that's the case, then don't. What I'm saying is, what you can do in terms of maximizing the upside but limiting the downside is to change your online company, change your virtual company, or change what goes into your head. So what do I mean by that? What information you consume, there's no kind of emotional backlash to whether you unfollow a celebrity on social media, so you don't have that excuse. So start there. Just small changes. This takes time, and that's the thing, you're not competing against anyone, right? It's more about your maximum effort. So start small and get the fatwa from your heart. You know what's good for you, you know what's bad for you, you know what influences are bad for you, you know the people you should unfollow on Instagram, you know what's doing good for you, what's doing bad for you. Start there, and then along with getting rid of some of the negative, add some positive. Add 10 minutes of a lecture, of an Islamic lecture. Any Islamic speaker that you like listening to, that's kind of from the mainstream. Don't go off and start listening to 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes Qur'an, just one activity, but commit to 10 minutes, because it's going to compound, it's going to increase. Once you set your foot on that path, it's only going to increase, right? So avoid some of the negative, add some of the positive, and keep a log of it so that you can see your progress. Keep a log that I started in this week, I got rid of this, I added this. Next week, see if you can add on it. If you feel like you can't, carry on that level. When you can, go back to the log and you'll see the progress, and that'll make you feel good. So you're changing your mental diet, but you're also changing the actions that were a result of your diet. So over time, you will become better. The other point is, the reason I use the example of person A or person Alif and person Ba was just to make it more vivid in your mind, just to make it more relatable. It wasn't in any way to suggest that person Alif is kind of the optimized Muslim. What you have to understand is, no one, even if you did everything as I described in the scenario involving person A, right, and more, right, even if you did everything that person A did, but you were living in Makkah and you were praying all the salah in the Masjid al-Haram, and you were going to Medina every 3 days, and everything was like the best it could be, you're never going to be at a stage. You're still going to be, everyone still has their doubts, everyone still has their issues. Person A is never going to be sitting back thinking, yeah, I've hacked the Deen, you know, like I'm sorted. You're never going to think like that. Person A is going to have just as much self-doubt. Person A is just going to have just as much remorse over sins. They're going to have just as much kind of mental struggle over what they're dealing with. It's just going to be on a different level. But what the kind of barometer that you can use to measure your progress against is your own effort. If you're exhausting yourself mentally and physically to try and incorporate these changes, what more can you do? And that's the beauty about Islam. We're judged by our efforts. So that's the end of what I wanted to say today, and I'm not quite sure. I think just my reaction from recording it so far is, I think I rambled on a bit, but inshallah I'll improve in future videos. And some of the ideas I mentioned of how exactly to incorporate new actions, how to avoid certain actions, they'll be broken down on a more deeper level in future videos, inshallah. But I pray that was beneficial. I gave you something to think about, or perhaps a different way of thinking about this issue, and that's what we're here for. I know this isn't necessarily the video that's going to get the most likes or the most hits, because it's kind of a deeper look at something, and but that's okay. My intention is to help people from certain things that I've benefited from, and sadaqah jariyah. If it did benefit you, like it got you thinking and you think that's a good way of thinking about it, then I would request that you know the standard things that YouTubers say, like, subscribe, share. And the reason why that's important is that's how people discover the content, because they use algorithms, and if they see that the audience is engaging, they're like, this is good, so then they'll put it up as, you know, like the suggested videos, and then more people benefit. So, and also I will be using the audio of this for my podcast, which you can find in the links below. And aside from that, I would appreciate some feedback. It's my first video and I want to see if there's anything that I can improve on, which I know there will be. If you can comment, or if you can contact me through email, I'm here to help you in a way. So if you need help with any of this, the implementation of it, or kind of walking through, then email me, or like I'd say email me. You can find all that below as well, and I'll endeavor to respond to the best of my ability, because that's what my intention is, that's what I'm doing this for. And make dua for me, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.